Cameron.
Yes.
Poetry. Why don't we do that?
All right.
Rather than asking that, I'll hold on to that.
Yes,
for a second.
I have. I drive the bus.
All right.
I drive the bus.
Yeah,
Mother.
I heard that. What do I want to read today? Ouch.
Oh, it's the linen.
These are all so good.
Said the man who picked them all out.
Yes, that's why I picked them. I don't understand what the controversial part is here. I brought several good and then many bad ones that I also thought I would read.
Well, for comparison, of course.
You know, subject people to.
A reference sample.
Yeah, a control group. This is called The Great Wave by Ron Slate. I'll move up to my mark. I predict, like the one who was sucked to sea and returned in an Arabian container ship, all small worlds will be dashed and drowned. I witnessed this deliverance on a silent television. My fingers disquieted a bowl of almonds. A librarian called to say Constantinople is on hold. The entire surface trembled, an oscillation like a bell. When the seismologist said the Eurasian plate delivered a blow to our planet, his words were almost enough to renew our belief in the Earth's roundness, the tidal sugars and salts of our bodies, the atonement of death camp clerks. When I was a child, I discovered my depravity among the other boys, but we were sanguine all the same, with the fortitude to face what we'd found. So now, led to abandon the world for word of the world's moments, one must be cautious and deliberate. I had a dream. High water marks on the side of my house, the aftermath of a deluge rising from a spring in the cellar. I didn't realize the floodwaters would recede with the violence of their rising. Fishing boats torn from moorings, dome of the mosque collapsed. You, who savor the scent of the linden, live in a small world, and I also speak from a cramped provisional space. On the stacked ship, they videotaped as they passed, then circled back to pluck a single man from floating debris. I witnessed this alone on a glowing screen. I couldn't lift an almond to my mouth. I was a fallow field ruined by brackish flood. But I would choose the wave over the wind. I would swamp your world with wreckage. I would hold fast to you, and you would be saved.
Very good.
Mm-hmm.
And sorry, what was that one called again?
The Great Wave by Ron Slate. I think it appeared in the Paris Review in like 2009, if you're looking for a way to pay for it. Mm-hmm. But the central verse, so now led to abandon the world for word of the world's moments, one must be cautious and deliberate, it feels salient in 2020 and 2021 during the pandemic that we are like, I don't know, I feel like I've abandoned the world for word of the world's moments, that I'm kind of just getting secondhand accounts of things happening elsewhere.
While we sit inside.
Yeah. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm watching catastrophe unfold while I'm watching television while I'm like idly rummaging through a snack, right? Yeah. And somebody's trying to get me on the phone to say that a book I had ordered is in. Right, I thought about that line, a librarian called to say Constantinople is on hold, for a while, and then part of my brain was just like, hello, right, it's the name of a book, right? Constantinople is the name of a book that he's done an interlibrary loan for. But the idea of the dream where you were a fallow field, the idea of being swept to sea and then being saved, or being left on land and being inundated and ruined by salt water, I thought was interesting. I don't know. It's a complex poem that I really enjoy. And the last line, I would hold fast to you and you would be saved. I don't know, I think about that one a lot, right? What does that mean? What does it mean to choose the wave over the wind? You know, to be swept to sea and be saved? Mm-hmm. Or, yeah.
Yeah.
Are you part of the wave or are you part of the debris?
It's good.
It's all. I always have a little bit of trouble with this when someone encounters like a new piece of writing like this, where it's like, I want to comment on it, but I have to like absorb it and think about it for a little while first. So,
That's
actually,
really cool.
do you want to switch out here real briefly? I will be back in 1 second, and then we can get D&D started.
Sorry, I had to apply my lipstick.
Very important.
Yeah, I brought it. I always feel whenever I read a poem, I feel very similar to Erica in that I'm like, wow, that was amazing. And then my mind is just sort of going and I have like nothing to say about it because I need to go away and have a think.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if we need to stretch for a bit more time, I could do another one.
Oh, I would love to hear it. I missed that poem.
Okay.
But I'd love to hear a poem. Get back.
I also want to give a shout out to a friend of mine yesterday. The person who gave the reading of the Final Fantasy XIV villain.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Emmett Selch.
And
Yeah.
itself, yeah.
Yeah, Emmett Selk, as being presenting to you, metaphorically, returning the Library of Alexandria in exchange for deleting anyone who has ever posted on 4chan.
Yeah.
That came from a very good friend of mine, Leah, who is on Twitter under the handle @CulturalGeek. And you should go follow them because
That was very good.
their close readings on things are
Yeah.
tremendous. They are hands down one of the smartest, most insightful people I know.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
And now nobody say anything else about that character. Don't spoil the sprouts. A sprout is a new player because they have a little sprout above their head in Final
okay.
Fantasy 14.
Okay.
Yep. When you return, you shall be a sprout.
I will be a bunny sprout.
Yes. Fear not. I am available to tend you.
Oh,
What? That is by far not the worst thing we've said today.
it's the paternalism of it.
Oh. Oh.
Now I've ruined it for everyone.
Yep.
Yeah, in Foxmar 320 has it. In Destiny, new players are called kindergartians.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you occasionally see them in the Cosmodrome in what I believe I have coined as their baby blues, because the gear that new players get is
Blue.
Yeah.
rare.
Blues.
It is
Yeah.
blue quality.
Oh,
I like that, baby
that's
blues.
so sweet. So after we come back and do our after we do our little D&D session, we're gonna have Ask a GM. And so if you've got any D&D type of questions, or even GMing questions, they don't have to be D&D, because Jacob's like all up in Vampire, and I've played in one game of Paranoia. You can ask those things, and we will do the best of our ability to answer them.
Yes.
So if you want to know about characters or session zeros, Jacob would be a person to talk to about that. All of these things.
But I can do one more here
Go ahead,
while
yeah,
we're
please.
waiting.
Sorry.
Yep, do it.
This one is called Sword Swallower by Jenny George. And it's in, 4 very small parts. The soul enters the body through the mouth, so the legends say. I say the soul enters through childhood. A barn with its doors left open fills with night swallows. In the hayloft, certain dark sections flicker with movement, the dimension of depth. Finally, stillness. The moon, a threshing tool, revealed in the diminished light the glint of its blade, and the earth under a black quilt. Sleep, that ancient union of death with its body. The child sleeps, as in the child returns to the time before her body. But the earth always adjusts. A blueness pools in the shadows. Dawn pierces her with its strange dream. The birds open their throats, cry out. Before language, there was just the peculiar house of nerves. Now the world is buried in me to the hilt. The sun burns off the mist. I take my violence out over the field. Which I thought was just a really interesting commentary on what it is to develop intellectually from being, well, a sprout,
Yeah.
right?
That's really good.
And like the metaphor of the empty barn filling with swallows during the night, and acquiring, learning about metaphors like the shape, the moon looks like a threshing tool, right? These are all like very early things that you contemplate. And then kind of being capped off. Like the line, before language, there was just the peculiar house of nerves. Now the world is buried in me to the hilt. Is, God, it's good. It's so good. Oh, it makes me angry that I'm not going to be able to ever invent that pair of sentences. The world is buried in me to the hilt. Like, just...
It's very, like, what does that mean? I literally don't know. But it's so evocative. I know exactly what they mean by it.
Yes,
you know what
right?
I mean?
Yeah, exactly. That you can't pull it out again,
Yeah.
right? It's in there forever. It's a part of you now. And the opening of the soul enters the body through the mouth, so the legends say. I say the soul enters through childhood. Is like there's no, it isn't a discrete event, right? Like opening that as your thesis statement to say, no, the soul is something that has to grow and develop and takes maybe decades to take root.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so deep. And so, like, the first time you read a poem, I'm just like, it's like the problem I have with music is I hear the words. I know I hear them, but they don't mean anything to me because I'm so caught up in the sound of them and how they sort of relate and the sentence structure and stuff like that I don't like. I'm just like, yes, what a beautiful sentence, but I don't like, my brain just sort of bounces off the actual meaning and like have to sit back and go back and read it. And
I found what helped me with that was writing it out, right? Like, there's a reason that I took notes the way I did in university, right? Hearing something, I don't know if it's still accepted that there are different modes of learning, but I definitely need to have some kind of motion involved. It's not even the act of putting it on paper, it's moving that helps me recall something.
Yeah.
I agree with you in that because I just feel like I still like literally remember writing out notes, but after I switch to typing them, like the memories fade.
Yeah. And once again, that was Sword Swallower by Jenny George.
That was beautiful.
That was very good.